Hi, all. Coach Andy here. Thursday Live Office Hours, helping you build a career you love. Get in the house, say hi. We're going to do some job interview coaching today, plus some Q&A. Great to see everybody. Always appreciate your time that you spend with me. Let me say a quick hello. We got a whole bunch to cover today, like usual. Kay, what's up? Lisa, how are you doing? Lisa321, Renee, Peter, Lee, Renee, Dave, Donna, Jack. Kara, everybody give Kara a shout out. Andy, what's up? Susan, and everybody else. Trish Berry, how are you? Let me know where you're watching from. If you got any questions, put some question marks in front of your questions because we're going to do a healthy Q&A when I'm done with the teaching portion of today. So I do want to talk with you about job interviewing. I spent a lot of time, about 2 months ago, helping you get your resume in order. Last month, we spent a lot of time talking about how to circulate that resume. Now I want to start talking more over the next couple weeks about interviewing. And today I want to talk with you about how you interview, how you sell yourself, and the biggest mistake that I think most job candidates make when they're in an interview. It starts with a faulty mindset about what's important, and then it continues on with poor execution. So buckle up, get in, say hi. I want to start with a story. I want to take you back 20 years, January 2005. I want you to imagine 20 years ago, January 2005, so maybe almost 21 years ago, and I had been an executive recruiter for about 6 weeks. Okay, so 10 minutes into my executive recruitment career with MileWalk, I'm in my beautiful condominium. The second bedroom was my office where I smiled and dialed all day. I talked to job candidates, I talked to clients, and I was in this, actually I had just moved into this condo. So the condo was pretty shiny and new. My career was shiny and new. And I was on the phone with a job candidate. She had just got, a senior person, had just gotten out of an interview with a very senior executive at one of my new clients. And this woman said to me, and we debrief immediately after the interview's over. I practically want them to call me before they even can get to the elevator. And she said that the interview went great. She really loved the opportunity. She was excited. She went on and on. She thought she did well. I said, great. And then what's also customary is once I get that feedback, I call my client right away. This all happens within 10 or 15 minutes of the interview. Client picks up the phone. And I asked her how the interview went. And she said, Andy, I can see why you really like her. Good, okay. And she's got a great background, okay. And said all the right things, okay. And I can see, she's been successful and she had a lot of great stories. Okay, get to it, right? Like I know the but's coming. And she said all the right things, but I'm just not sure she could do it in our environment. Because she apparently thinks she has the toughest job with the roughest clients and the most complex technologies, just like every employer thinks that their environment is special, but what they really are human. And what they're really looking for is, how has what you've done going to change my life, my company, my team, or what my customers, or whatever it might be. And it was at that moment in January of 2005 where I knew I needed to change the way that I prepared job candidates. It wasn't about their accolades. It wasn't about how smoothly and how awesomely they told their stories. It was about getting that discussion into the future so that you could help whoever is listening understand exactly how you're going to transform their lives. And that's how it was born. So from that moment forward, I had always talked with the job candidates about moving the dialogue into the future. But if you can't even move it into the future to talk about what you're going to do in their environment and how you're going to do it in their environment and what you're going to do for their customers or their team or them, then at a minimum, you need to show how you've transformed others in a very similar manner. When you all pop into the MileWalk Academy and hopefully you click on the case studies page and you learn about people that have used our premium coaching to get their jobs, That is an illustration of what we can do for you. That's the outcome that they've achieved that you're hoping for, whether that's a new job or a promotion or whatever it might be. Well, the same goes for you. You wonder why your degree is not valued. Well, a degree is nice. You showed up somewhere for 4 years, you put the time in. It shows me you're disciplined enough to take the classes. But operating in a perfect environment in an academic setting where all the variables are perfect doesn't tell me a whole lot about how you're actually going to react when there's real bullets flying at your head. So it's the same thing if you've done great work or great projects at other companies. It's just like another degree. You did it over there. I need to be convinced you can do it for me over here. And so the first thing I need you to do today is understand that they're buyers, and buyers buy transformation. They don't buy features. They don't buy skills. While it's nice to have cool features and it's nice to have great skills, but you knowing something doesn't do anything for me. It's the application of your knowledge, and you need to help me understand how the application of your knowledge is actually going to transform my life. Who gets what I'm saying, right? Give me a hey in the chat. So let me call your attention to this point first. You might not be able to make out the colors, but the interview is not about your past. That's a little red X. This is a little green plus. It's about their future. Okay, so I need that to register. Sales 101 is you sell to the gap. In order to sell to the gap, you need to make sure that you know what the gap is, what somebody cares about. If you want them to know the value you're going to create for them, you need to know what they value. It's not your skill sets. It's what you're going to do for them. So this is the first order of business today. So another way that I want you to get out of this way of thinking, and I want you to get into this way of thinking, is I want you to stop thinking about what did I do. I want you to stop thinking about what did I do in every imaginable facet. That's how you write your resumes. Here's what I did. I managed the call center team. I wrote the marketing, social media copy. Right, that's what you did. I don't care about that. This is what I know. I know how to run the project. Great, so what? But what will they gain? Start thinking about what is the value I'm going to contribute. On your resume, why do you think I always say to you, put the effect first, the benefit first? Here's what happened. Here's what I did to make that happen. It's so far secondary. So it's the same thing in an interview. And many people who look at these legacy interviewing formulas that are god-awful because they don't take this into account, you get on a path that is sending you into a bad spot in the interview, and you're not able to actually show them the value you're going to create. So I want you to start thinking this way. All right, so how do we do that? What's kind of the protocols and the steps that will enable you to do that? Well, the first thing you need to understand is if you're going to try to help somebody achieve their goals, that's what I want to do for you. That's what I want you to do for your clients, your companies, your team, your boss, your division, whoever, your partners, whoever it might be. You need to know that there are always 5 important factors when an organization is hiring somebody, but the leading factors of what they consider, even if they don't spell it out in this language, I'm telling you that these variables are always at play for you, and this is the fastest way for you to figure out what they care about and move things in your direction so that they desire you, want to hire you, and want to pay you more because you're going to add more value. That's what it's all about. So first thing is there's goals, problems, the solution, the profile, and the cost. I'm going to run you through each one of these just like I do almost every week at Live Office Hours because I cannot possibly drill this into your head enough. The first and foremost thing is every employer has a goal. I like to use myself as an example. I think you guys get the analogies. I'm a career coach. There's a lot of career coaches. Every career coach on the planet, what do they want? They want to help people, right? Find new jobs, thrive in them. That's great. But from a business operator's perspective, what do I want? Well, I need more leads. I need more potential clients. I need more potential customers. So my goal in anything that I would do from a marketing and sales perspective is to attract more of you. Now, some of you come for the free shows, and that's great. You're part of my community, and some of you enroll in my premium stuff, and you pay, and I can help you on a deeper level. But the more of you, the better. I always want more. I always want to help more people. That's my mission. Okay, well, my goal is to what? Have more people find me, have more people engage in my work. So if you're a marketing person or you're a seller, you know my goal is more, right? So I show up every week. I talk to you. There's 115 of you right now still stumbling in, but some of you are going to talk to your friends. That's helpful. I circulate information on social media. That's helpful, right? I send you emails, newsletters, those kind of things, talks in groups or whatever. But goals, what are their goals? You should know what their goals are. How are you measured? What is it that you're doing? Every marketing team in the world wants more leads. They want more leads. They want them faster. They want them cheaper. They want a higher conversion rate, so more of those leads turn into customers, and they want everything for the least amount of cost. So that's simple. Well, what are their problems? Well, there's umpteen different problems when it comes to getting leads and marketing a company. So the more you have helped organizations achieve those goals for which I would need you to achieve with my organization, the better. The more specific the problems that you have helped them overcome, the better. So a person who is a marketing person who has helped a business to business organization that sells widgets increase their marketing or brand awareness or increase their marketing leads or their prospect base is not as attractive to me as somebody who's done the same thing for a small business, a small services business, a small coaching business, a small career coaching business. Because my problems, lack of recognition, a lot of noise in the market, a lot of people competing for your attention, all the problems that I have that are very specific to me, I want the person who's been able to solve those. So the more specific and the more narrow the problem, or the more analogous the problem that you've solved for a prior employer, helps me become more attractive to your history, because that tells me you have the domain expertise and the know-how to solve my specific problems. That makes you more attractive. For that, I'm willing to pay more for somebody who's not going to learn on the job how to solve my specific issues. And then there's the solution that I have in mind of what I want you to do or what I think you need to do in order to help me achieve my goals and overcome my problems. But the solution itself can be variable. So I might think that to solve my problem, I need to run Facebook ads. You might say, no, Andy, you don't need to spend money doing that. We can set you up an organic distribution process of your social media, and we could do it this way. Fine, you have a different solution. Or, yes, Andy, you do need to run these ads, but if you run them this way, it's going to take you a lot longer. I can shrink the process by doing certain things that will accelerate that and reduce the cost. Awesome. So while you might be working within the same solution set, you've been able to do it faster, or you're able to achieve it at a higher level. No, Andy, we think it'll take about the amount of time you think it's going to take, except I won't get you 10 leads. I'll get you 100 a day. Okay, great. You've exceeded the goal or my going-in goal by either optimizing the solution or running it more effectively. And then there's a profile of the individual that I have in my head. That profile looks like, what does it look like? The job description and the role, the responsibilities are what I want you to do. But then there's a section in there that says, and the ideal candidate has 5 years of experience in social media marketing, 5 years of experience in copywriting, 2 years of experience working in the coaching industry, something like that. Well, they have a profile, except that's their going in profile. It's not the only profile that'll work. And this works in multiple dimensions. So from a profiling perspective, think about yourself. Well, I am, as a 59-year-old professional, could be competing for a job with a 30-year-old professional. So do they want 8 years of experience and the 30-year-old will do just fine? Or can I convince them that their goals can be achieved faster, their problems are stiffer, much more difficult than they think, and you're going to need somebody with my level of expertise because I've seen all this, I've done all this, and not only will I be able to overcome all of that, those problems that you haven't even anticipated, that you don't even know you have, that no 30-year-old or somebody working 8 years is going to be able to figure out because they just don't have enough tread on the tires. right? I could raise the profile or I could go in the other direction. Somebody might think they need 20 years of experience when that same 30-year-old might be able to do it with their 8 years of experience. So this profile can be manipulated throughout the interviewing process. You need to figure out how to leverage these 3 components, the goals, the problems, and solution, in order to do that. And then there's the cost. Well, your problems are worse than you think. It's going to be more difficult than you think. I can overcome those more difficult problems and achieve more at a higher level goal, or I can achieve it faster, which is going to save you money. Therefore, you're going to pay me more. Or, no, it's not as complicated as you think. You can get away with me and you don't have to pay $100,000. You could pay me $50,000 and I'll do it. So what you're doing is you're going through the process and you're trying to massage these, so to speak, in your favor. But there's a number of ways to do that, and I'm not going to go into any more of that right now because I got a video out there, because I got dozens of videos on this. What every job seeker needs to know about negotiating salary is one of them. 5 ways to get more salary, that's another one. Check it out. I talk about these 5 variables in greater length, but the most important thing for you right now is to understand that you can't even get to the start line if you don't know what their goals are. You have to know what their goals are, and it's easy to determine what their goals are. So I want you to know that I want you to think about, what is it that you do in your day in and day out job? Are you on the marketing team? I can tell you, any of you that are on the marketing team, I want more leads. That's your goal. I want it faster. That's a goal. I want it cheaper. That's a goal. And I want the highest conversion rate, meaning you need to be targeting the right demographics so you're not wasting our dollars and cents on people who are not ultimately going to buy our products. Okay, great. Everybody, those are the goals. All right, you're the sales team. I want what? I want more revenue. I want it faster. I want it from clients that are ideal. I want the clients to be super happy. Right? All of those are the same for all the salespeople. It goes on and on. The accountants, I want the books closed as fast as possible. I want them as accurate as possible. I want to be compliant as possible. If we get an audit, I want everything in order as fast as possible. If you're an engineer, I want you to create the semiconductor as fast as possible, as cheap as possible. I want it to be bulletproof so that it never breaks and no one ever returns it and it doesn't fry. Right, so these goals are very easy to determine, and you can think about, well, how is it that I measured today? And you have your AI tools, and you can figure those out. Now, where I would point you, and I want you to start, is with the Great 8. If you don't know what the Great 8 is, I'm going to fill you in on that here in a second. It's only going to take me a few seconds because I'm not going to go very deep in it, but there are 8 major goals or accomplishments that every employer in the world, no matter what widget they build or service they provide, there are 8 things they care about. They want revenue generation, so they want to make more money. They want market awareness. They want everybody to know who they are. They want more leads, whether it's on billboards or people finding them on social or whatever. They want to attract customers. They want to make those customers happy, customer happiness. They want to grow their company and put the entire infrastructure in place for growth, whether that's M&A, divestitures, whether that's going public, getting venture capital money or whatever it might be, and everything that is associated with it, all the compliance, all the risk management, accounting, everything that goes along with making the company and positioning the company for growth. Then there's the employee happiness. There's also expense management or expense reduction, and then process efficiency, doing things quicker, which also in turn reduces expenses. Those are the Great 8. What I want you to do when you're thinking about selling your value is you want to start with, what are the Great 8 accomplishments that I need to demonstrate I've helped other employers attain. I don't want to know about the how-to just yet. It's really important that you can show me that you're going to transform me. What's the analogy I always use, right? We want to grab the little colorful phones. When I go to my Instagram and I'm swiping because I'm a health nut and I always see the washboard tummy, right? That's the first thing I see. That's what the outcome is. If I'm interested in achieving my health goals and I want to look fit, I want to see the washboard stomach. And then I want to know how I'm going to have to achieve that. But I want to know that's what I'm going to get. So when you're telling a story, you're doing the same thing. You can think of my Instagram analogy about the washboard abs, right? What is it that they care about? And then think about what you've done in terms of a story you can tell where you have achieved those exact goals. Start with the goal. So what a lot of you do, and I know this because I coach multiple of you every day, what a lot of you do is you think about, what's the question they're going to ask me? They're going to ask me about a challenge. Well, what's a good challenge that I think I overcame? Why are you thinking about that stuff? Think about, what is it that they need me to do for them? What do they care about? What's the story that I can tell them that helps them achieve what they want? And I'm sure you overcame challenges along the way. Pick one from that. But the story starts when you are conceptualizing what you're going to share in an interview. It starts with, what do they need me to do? What do they need me to help them accomplish? That's how you get the value. If you think about the great 8 and you start there, you're going to be able to work backwards to who or whom or what teams or what customers that you've helped achieve any of those great 8. But not all the great 8 are equal. It depends what your function is. If you're a seller, you better be talking to me about revenue generation and client happiness. If you're on the marketing team, you better be talking to me about how you're increasing the market awareness. Right? If you're on the accounting team, talk to me about your operational efficiency and your understanding of GAAP principles. So that's what you need to do, is think forward to where they want to go and what they need you to accomplish, and then talk about the impacts you've had historically. And then if you want more on the great 8, I have a video, 8 ways to show your value as an employee. It breaks down the great 8. The video is probably a half an hour or 45 minutes, so you can have all the nauseating detail that I know you want. Okay. The other thing I want you to do, this one makes my skin crawl. It really makes my skin crawl. When you are going to tell your story, now I've taught you my CAR technique, CAAR. We're not going to go into the mechanics of the entire story here because I've done that, I don't know, at least 3 dozen times on the YouTube channel. You can find the CAR videos. I'll point you to one of my favorites here in a minute. But there is a storytelling formula that I propose, and my storytelling formula is built on you selling yourself. And the one thing that I think is a huge mistake that people make with the STAR technique is they talk about the situation, or they get right into the chronology of what it is that they were asked to do or what it is that they do. Every single answer you ever give in an interview starts with the value or the result first. The STAR technique holds the result to the end, which is the absolute worst time to have it, because by that time your boring story has already lost them and they're already mentally wanting to check their phones. So you need to show them the result up front. That's the impact. And so when you're talking about history, your history, if you can highlight the transformation that you helped somebody attain, or the opportunity or aspiration that existed that you attained, that's going to get my attention. It's no different than the washboard abs. When you're flipping through the Instagram and you see the washboard abs, that's the result. Do any of you go to Instagram and actually look for health and fitness coaches? And do any of them start with, "Hi, my name's Andy. I'm a health and fitness coach. Let me tell you about the 30-day plan that you're going to have to go through to sweat your butt off in order to get this," right? They don't do that. They show you the result. They grab your attention, and then they fill you in on how they made that happen, how they did this for this customer, how they're going to do it for you. So every one of your answers starts with the result. You need to understand this. This is sales 101. Whoever developed the STAR technique didn't know thing one about selling. You're in the biggest marketing and sales job of your life if you're looking for a job. Start with the result always, always, always. So you need to resequence your answer. So resist the temptation to start whenever you get asked, "Tell me about a time," or even if they ask you, "How did you do that project?" Don't go into step 1. Don't go into a diminutive description of your situation. Give them the result right up front. Give them the result right up front, or what the opportunity was. The result is, if I'm the IT project manager running a CRM implementation to fix my call center system, I don't say the situation is I was the project manager and it was my job in order to implement a technology system. Yawn, I'm gone, I'm dead. I'm thinking about something else. I'm daydreaming about the date I'm going to have with my wife or whatever. I'm not going to be paying attention. But if you say to me, we have a large call center and we had a 62% attrition rate, average is 15. This was costing us $120 million a year in lost customers. Okay, now you have my attention. Now, you didn't necessarily say, I ran this project and here's what I achieved. You didn't say it that way. You told me what was broken, and if you're going to tell me what was broken, I'm going to naturally assume you're telling me this because you fixed it. Now I'm going to wait with bated breath on, tell me how you did that. If you say, well, Andy, I just was hired because everything was fine with this small $10 million company, but they'd been $10 million for 3 years and they wanted to grow internationally and they thought there was a European demand, but they had never done this. So there wasn't really a problem. Well, no, they had an aspiration, or you could think of the problem in terms of lack of growth. Now, I'm not saying everybody's got to be a $50 million company. So you could tell me that this organization was stagnant with revenue at 10 million for the last 3 years, and they really thought there was an opportunity in the European market. They hired me because of my track record of expanding international practices, and I knew when I was interviewing that within the first year, I could probably help them triple their revenue. Okay, now you told me that, and now I'm going to assume it was 30 million, so you got another 20 million from Europe. Now you're going to walk me through the story. Okay, now you have my attention. Now I want to know how you did that. So that's what I mean by you lead with the result or you lead with the opportunity. I coached a woman. She was on the coast of Africa to open up an arm for her oil company. And she said, well, it was my job to kind of get there and break ground. And I said, okay, well, all right, well, how much opportunity was there in Africa, in oil? Like, what was the market share of spend on oil in Africa? She had the number. She knew it. I said, okay, well, you lead with that, and you had zero of that. So it's your job to go and get a fraction of that. And in the first year, everybody knows the first dollar is the hardest dollar to sell. So the fact that you were able to figure this out, strategize, open the market, get your brand who was not known in the country known, and you were able to sell a 7-figure whatever, that's a big deal. Okay, well, that's how you open a story. So I want you to make sure that you resist the temptation to start going into the steps. So the first thing I did was yawn. You can get to that second. Okay, so I want to remind you, you're selling your future. The value is in what you do next, not what you've done historically. The biggest mistake that a lot of you make is you're spending a lot of time in your past. If you ever want to know how well you did in an interview, if you do a lot of video interviews, just record yourself. Just record yourself. If you don't want to record the Zoom screen or Teams or whatever, just record it. Just sit your phone down and record it. What percentage of the time were you talking about your past? The larger the percentage of the time you were talking about your past, the worse you did in the interview. It's your job to make sure that you're getting them to see your future value. Here's how I would do it in your environment. Here's what it means to you. I want you to write these words down. When you do this, this is what happens. That creates pressure. That creates urgency. That creates conclusions. That creates a projection of imagination. It is not negotiable. When you do this, this is what happens. And so when you're using language like that, you are immediately shifting their attention to what's going to happen for them. These are tricks you can implement anywhere in the interviewing process, anytime you want to get them in their eyes on the future. If you feel like you're talking about and you're taking them through your story, you can even interrupt yourself and get them into the future. So here's how I was doing it in this case because we had these constrictions, but you don't have that problem, so we're going to do it differently in your environment. Keep going. They're going to come back to that. Or you're going to give them an illusion or something that they're going to hold on to. You can totally control the flow of the dialogue because there's absolutely no way they're not going to want to come back to that. Because why? Because the easiest thing for them to do is to see how the best judgment they can make on how you will operate in their environment is to be talking about how you will work in their environment. If you can't connect the dots for them in their environment, it's much harder for them to look at your past and say, oh, how does that translate way the hay over there? That's a tall order. Number one, it's a tall order for anybody, even the most savvy of interviewers, but it's an impossibility for somebody who's a novice, which is what a lot of you deal with. So I want you to make sure it's about what you will do next. Now, one video I mentioned about my car technique that I would watch, the job interview formula, guaranteed to get you hired. I have my CAAR formula. I also have a CAR formula for different purposes. We call that the coupe. We call this the sedan. So check this out. And then just to recap, just a few of these points, I want to make sure that you are thinking in terms of their future, not your past. And in order to be thinking about their future, you need to be thinking about what their goals are, what their potential problems are. Now, the goals are easy to ascertain. The problems, you might have to take a guess, but just guess at every problem. Understand every problem and how you would overcome it. And then the last thing that I would say to you is always make sure, and the last two things is focus your analysis and your stories on the grade 8. There's the video that I mentioned on the grade 8. And make sure whatever you do, the result comes out first. And if you want more on the result coming out first, just check out that video I mentioned about the job interview formula, guaranteed to get you hired. Okay, 30 minutes, that's what I was shooting for. All right, if you're here with me live, we're going to the chat. If you're watching this on the recording, I will see you next week, no matter who you are, no matter where you are. I love doing this for you. Please make sure to click the like button, subscribe to the station, and share this because people need help, because this is a terrible job market. It's very confusing. All right, all you watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week. Okay. All right, that was 30 minutes on that. I have a 1-minute sale for you because this is the only day you can get this discount. Speaking of this stuff, I am holding a 2-day workshop, December 10th and 11th. It's a 4-part, 2-day, all live workshop on Zoom. So that's a Wednesday and a Thursday. If you are in my job search coaching program, if you are an Endearing boot camper, you're already in. We sent you the RSVP yesterday. You all free of charge because you get everything I do from a job searching curriculum. If you're not in my job search coaching program and you would like to attend this workshop, it's called the job interview workshop because I stay up late thinking of these names. It's 4 parts. So we're going to do 2 parts on Wednesday, 2 parts on Thursday. The first part on Wednesday is the context part. The second part is the first part of the approach. And then on Thursday, we're going to do the A and the R. And we're going to walk through, I'm going to teach you live what everything is, give you examples. Then we're going to role play with a bunch of you. Then we're going to take a break. You're going to meet a bunch of people in the workshop. So because job searching is lonely and it stinks. So we're going to get you some accountability buddies and some, other people's shoulders you can cry on as you go through your day in and day out job search. And then we're going to do the same thing on Thursday. And then you'll get all the replays and everything and a bunch of other things that go along with it. We did this workshop back in September. It was so awesome. And I've been getting a lot of requests to do it again. So we're going to do more interview coaching. If you want to join us and you're not a member of my job search coaching program, it's $99. You'll get the last set's replays and you will get the attendance at the live show and the live teaching from me and the role playing and everything. For this one, $99. Today only. I'm not doing a button down sale. I'm not doing a last minute sale. Today only. If you want to get in and you're not a boot camper, Kara will put Kara, can you swap the pin out? Kara's going to put a link in. The link's got a $20 coupon on it, so it'll be $79. It's only good to today because I'm not messing about with this. It's $99. It's totally worth it. If you want $20 off, then join today. But between tomorrow and December 10th, it's $99 if you're not a boot camper. No specials, no Thanksgiving Day special, no nothing special. So would love to have you. No fanfare. I didn't even create a video for this. This is so awesome. It's totally worth it. You're going to learn a ton. I'm going to teach my butt off. You're going to meet a bunch of nice people. So you'll meet 4 people on one day. You meet 4 people on the other day. You walk out of there with 8 new friends. That'll be alone would be worth $100. Cool. Okay. So Kara just swapped the pin. So grab that if you're interested. if you have any questions about it, you can email us at support@milewalk.com and ask Kara, but make sure you do it today. And one thing I forgot to tell you, that you might know I have Andy AI, which is my digital clone. It's trained on all my premium products, the Job Search Coaching Program, the Leadership Coaching Program, the ZEBRA Code, Interview Intervention, the Hiring Prophecies, Out of Reach But in Sight, Using Goals to Achieve Your Impossible, all the booklets I've written, my YouTube channel, my podcast, workbooks, templates, everything that Andy's ever written or said in his life is in his clone. That clone is $199 a month. Or it's complimentary support for my boot campers. But I'm going to give you, if you get in the workshop, I will give you a month free. So that's a $200 value right there. If you want to get in, as soon as you enroll, your clock starts immediately. So you could have Andy AI like right now, like in 10 seconds from now, if you click and pay your $79. Isn't that great? Okay, I think that's it. That's enough on that. Let's talk Q&A. I'm totally leaded today. I don't normally drink like coffee during our sessions because I'm always afraid I have to pee, but I went totally leaded today. All right. AG, what's up, Amanda? How do you demonstrate that you can solve their problem without talking about how you did it in a previous role? You can. There's nothing wrong with that. Hold on. There's nothing wrong with using historical projects in order to illustrate how you did something. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're starting with the impact first, the result. That's the gold. And then as you walk through and you talk about the how-to, you can illustrate the challenges or the activities that you went through in order to overcome their problems. The other thing I want you to do is at the end of your response, you can say, that's how I did it in the past or at that company. I'd love to talk with you about how we could approach it with you. Talk about it in your environment. Talk about your challenge. Talk about, these particular problems. The other thing is, if you're unable to do that, move the discussion into the future like that and talk about their scenarios. One of the other things that you're going to do is you're going to ask questions eventually, whether in that interview or others. What does success look like? That is code for give me the goals that you want me to accomplish individually as well as for the team and the company. What does success look like? What are the problems standing in our way? You're going to ask that specifically. And at some point, you're going to address them. You will. It'll come out naturally. And then what's the value you're going to attach when I help you achieve that goal? Goals, whatever it is, and by overcoming those problems. It is okay. Hold on. I am not saying to you that you cannot talk about your past. You will naturally talk about your past some. The point is to ensure that you're highlighting your history in a manner that helps them understand how what you know can be applied to help them achieve their goals. It's a great question, but I want you to be thinking in terms of showing impact, showing value. Tell them how you did it, and then talk about how you would do it for them. That's a good one. And then let's see. Lamia? Is it Farag? If I got that right, I'm not sure. What are the most effective strategies for a senior leader to restore confidence and clarity after burnout and re-engage with concise, purpose-driven communication? The first thing is you never talk about that, period. I'm not being funny. There is absolutely no, I'm assuming you're asking me this in the context of a job search. I would never bring up anything about being burnt out. I wouldn't. I simply wouldn't. If you want to take time off because you were burnt out, I would never actually relinquish that information in an interview. I would talk about, I had an opportunity to take some time off. I took it. Here's what I did with it. I spent time with my family. I traveled. I wanted to get some certificate. I don't care what you do, but don't talk about being burnt out, because if you got burnt out once, the likelihood that you're going to get burnt out again is substantially higher than somebody who's never been burnt out. So I would avoid that at all costs. I mean, like, never bring that up. Never. I would not do it. I just wouldn't. Don't, you know what? I don't want you to lie in an interview, but that's information you simply do not have to share. And then when you're talking about concise, purpose-driven communication, I'm talking about What do you want me to do? And then I'm focusing I coached a woman last night. She's going into a very senior interview. She'd been through a few interviews. And one of the things that, she was struggling with was the level of conciseness in her answers. And one of the things that I think was really throwing her off is there was no interpretation in what she was saying for what is it that I'm trying to sell. You're trying to sell skill sets and experience that in alignment with the goals. Okay, so there's a congruence. I'm able to achieve these goals because I know these things and I have this level of experience. Anything else that doesn't contribute to showing them those two things is noise. So when I think about streamlining, concise, purpose, strip that out. The second thing is this. So any of you, this is a great question about as a senior leader. When I coach people, and this woman said it last night, maybe not these exact words, but people say this a lot. They want to tell you that they have the executive level communication. They are skilled, and they want to tell it. They want to say, I am skilled at this. I'm a persuasive speaker. I'm a whatever. Skills are not interpreted, and my desire to have you as an interviewer or an employer is not predicated on your statement about what it is that you know or what it is that you've done. What is happening is everything is deduced from your story. So where she was wanting to add extra language to explain certain things, I said, no, you don't need to explain that you're a good communicator or this and that, or that you have executive level communication. When you're telling your story, you say, I presented the case, and in her case, I presented the case to the CEO, president, and chief operating officer. The statement says you were in the room with those three and you were telling them something. The hook together to know, can she be persuasive is, and then she's going to tell them. And so I got them to sign off or whatever. Okay, so she had the victory. But what the interviewer is doing is they're listening to your story. They're listening to the way you're communicating to them, me. I'm listening. Does this sound like a woman that could be persuasive and would be in a room with those three? Yes or no? So then it becomes every time you communicate, there's two things that are happening with the communication. There's the content that goes out, and there's the conviction in which you deliver it. I'm sensing both of those, but I don't need you to tell me you're a great communicator. I'm listening to you, and I'm making my own deduction. So what an interviewer is doing is they're listening to your story, and they're saying, if she can do this, she must know that. If she's able to do that, she must be able to do this. That's what's happening. It's a compressed amount of time. I'm drawing conclusions very quickly. I can think 4 times faster than you can talk, and I don't need you to be filling it with words I don't need. So when you want to talk about being concise, purpose-driven, and all of that, your situation about being burnt out should never come into the equation, and I would be focusing on the delivery of your story. That's the way I spend more time in my interview coaching stripping words out than I do anything else. Because there's so much wasted words in what you're saying, and I'm only listening for what sells you versus what's creating inertia and getting in the way of you selling you. So I love that question. I would not bring the burnout thing up, and I would focus on how I'm telling my story, because I'm determining if you are concise, engaged, purpose-driven by what you're telling me right now, the way you're telling it to me now. So that's a great one. It really is. Amy M. from Michigan. What's up? Timely. Have an interview today. Good luck, Amy M. John Ferreira. Man, dude, you're like my favorite guy on LinkedIn, man. Thank you. You are like one of the top 10 Andy supporters. I totally appreciate you, man. Hello from Boston. Boot camper for the past 8 years. Best job search program ever. Thanks, Amy and Kara. And there I go, right on the nose. Thank you, buddy. Fox just finished an interview using CAR with NYC Public Schools for bookkeeper best interview I have ever performed. You know what? I didn't plan on doing this at all. You know what? Because I'm not really Can I just do this real quick? I don't know if this will work out. Look at this, Vita. The car method is a winner. My power story got me through every question. They asked that damn why shouldn't we hire you question. Thanks to Andy, I answered it like a pro. You get the idea, right? Let's see, what else we got? Averall, the car technique widened their eyes as they checked all the things off their list during my introduction. I love that one. Let's see, what else? Oh, and then he went on to say, hey, speaking of Andy AI, both AI tools are very powerful, but Andy AI is much better at crafting Andy-style intros and car stories. How about that? This one I love. Lou, Andy's guidance, especially the car storytelling technique, was instrumental. You get the idea. And then Diane, I think I got one more. I just tried out the car and storytelling method on a 3rd round interview, and it was transformative for me. I was one of those people trying to remember responses to 100 different questions framed for the interviewer and their role. Today, I had 5 stories ready in the car formula, and it worked great. She goes on to say a bunch of nice things. For the first time, I wasn't nervous. I felt confident and prepared. I knew something I was doing wasn't working. This feels so much more natural. So I hadn't planned on showing you some of those, but I went to the community yesterday, and I was getting ready to package up some messages that I will eventually send you in about 3 or 4 weeks. But I appreciate all the nice remarks there, and I hope you get the idea that the formula works. All right, Mikhail, is it Mikhail Polly? I'm going for an interview for an internship for an interior designer tomorrow. Any advice you can give me to prepare? So, yes, I would watch that is just too big blue oceanish for me. There's a million things I would do, but I would make sure that I would watch. My advice is watch this video, the job interview formula guaranteed to get you hired so that you get the car technique down. That is my best piece of advice. Lots of luck to you. Renee K, how do you actually articulate when you do this? This is what happened. Pick anything you want. So when you segment your company list, when you segment your customers, what happens is you have a clear understanding of exactly where to target, and you avoid spending money targeting customers that you don't need to be targeting. Just like that. Anything. When you join my job search coaching program, you will find your job faster. When this happens. That's what I mean. Anytime you speak with certainty about, if you don't do that, when you get a coach who has the proper instruction and system, you will wake up every morning knowing exactly what to do. Just like that. Cause and effect. Great question there, though. Elena, how are you, Elena? Haven't seen you in a while. Hi, Andy. Do you advise working more than a 40-hour work week for a contractor hourly role for 12 months with the hope of converting to the permanent position? The position does not say temp to perm. So when it comes to the way you asked me the question, meaning what it is you're focusing on about the hours, I leave that to you. So when I'm working with somebody, okay, let's say I hire you as a contractor. I'm looking for results first. And so am I getting the result, and is it quality? Then how fast am I getting the result? How long does it take you? So if you stay 2 extra hours a day to get me something sooner because we needed it, awesome. You did what you needed to do. If it's taking you 2 extra hours because you don't know what you're doing and you have to work extra just to be on par, so to speak, that's not good. If it's a matter of, hey, we're behind on this project, we need everybody to kind of roll up their sleeves and work a bit extra, are you willing to do that? It shows me what kind of employee you are. Maybe it puts more money in your pocket. That's cool too if they're paying for the overtime. But I don't think of it in terms of like, do I need to work overtime to show them I'm a better employee? I'd rather you just work the regular hours, get everything done when you're supposed to, and show me you're so knowledgeable that I can't live without you. So that's more of and every situation is going to be different with that. So I hope that helped. Stephen Carollo, what's up? A boot camper has a part-time job with a small legal coalition. The CEO wants to hire full-time. I know her current chief of staff is going to leave soon for law school. How should I approach creating a job description and role with heft? and subsequently negotiate the comp. So if you're asking me, the CEO wants to hire full time and you are the guy, then I'm going to the CEO and I'm going to express my interest, and there's nothing wrong with you saying, take the CEO's temperature. If the CEO is receptive to it, say, I'd love to actually show you what's possible for us, the things that I can do, where I think you need the most help, value, goals, whatever, some of the key priorities sequenced in terms of ROI, and I show you what this could mean and what could be done by me in that role full time. If they're receptive to it, you go and you put the salary negotiation grid together, the role definition grid, make sure you are as, broken out and buttoned up as possible. And that's what I would do. And so I would max out the contributions based on what they need. If you are working, you said a boot camper has a part-time. So I'm assuming this is you, right? With a small legal coalition. I'm assuming that's you. So that's what I would do. I'm all about take their temperature, read the room, and then go. So I'm just going to shove it in front of them like, hey, I have a proposal for you. I want to know that they have an appetite for the proposal. And if they were on the fence, it would be questions like, would you be open? Would it be helpful for you if you were able to attain this? What would that feel like? How would that make you feel, right? What would we be able to do if this would enable us to do that? I would be putting out the results and then getting them excited about the results and then showing them how to do it. If you start with the how-to, they're going to look at the cost. You start with here's the value we could create. So same thing about what I talked about today. Good luck. That's good. That's cool. Best roles ever that I ever placed were manufactured on the fly. Larry, what's up? Haven't seen you in Whole Foods in the last couple of weeks. I've been there, man. I have broad IT leadership experience, but deep in quality engineering, been focusing on QE with little headway for 6 months. How to focus on more general technical project delivery. Okay. First automatic what comes to mind is if you have deep quality engineering experience and you have been targeting those types of roles, my guess is in your profile and in your highlights, you're talking about quality control, quality engineering. Obviously, the number one thing I would do is I would reshape the way the resume is formed and make sure that it highlights more tech project delivery. And it's okay that the quality engineering is part of your skill sets and accomplishments, but talk more about the results your projects delivered more than right how. So when I think of the difference. So I coached a guy the other day, and he had a resume and it had a lot of accolades. And this guy he's awesome. He spent like 12 or 13 years, I think, at Deloitte, and he's changing out. And there had a whole lot of things in his resume, but the resume wasn't selling him until we got to the point where I said, when you think about, and he had a number of things in his background, but workforce transformation was the number one thing. That's what he was selling. That was him. That's what he was going to market with. And I said to him, the minute I said to him, okay, when you think of workforce automation, what do you think of? And his natural reaction was, well, I put tools and I stop. The minute I hear put tools, stop. You're going to start telling me about the activities. What's the value a workforce person helps a company achieve? What are the values? What's number one? I make all the employees more productive. I have higher output. I want that to be highlight number one. What's the second thing you do? Employee happiness, right? They do go hand in hand. Happier employees, right? They have better production, but you could make a whole stink about employee happiness, right? So operational efficiency, one of the grade 8. You've got employee happiness, one of the grade 8. So what you're doing is you're identifying the most important goals. Then you're going to talk about how you did that. All right. When you're a quality engineer, What's the most important goal? The system goes up error-free. Damn right, that's what I want. Compliant, doesn't break, whatever it is that you are controlling. Doesn't burn out, whatever. Okay, give me that level. That's one in your highlights. Now, and you can continue on. All right, what does a technical project delivery manager or whatever it is, what are their goals? Well, then in this case, it depends on what kind of project you're running. But I want outputs of the implementation itself. So the example I used in the teaching portion when I said, if you're the IT project manager responsible for implementing the new CRM technical system, but you're the tech project manager, the goal still starts with what was the problem you fixed. So your projects will be fixing or achieving goals by fixing problems that exist. Those problems that exist when you target an organization, what you are now thinking in terms as a project, this goes for all you project managers, you are now thinking in terms of who's the company I'm targeting and what are likely their goals that they need to achieve based on whatever it is that I'm doing as a technical project manager. So if you're targeting an organization because they want you to implement the CRM system and that's what they need, and you're going to be working with customer-facing systems and call center systems and whatever, all right, well then you're going to talk about projects you ran that achieved what? Better customer happiness, more sales, other things related, even though they were IT projects. And now I want to know that you ran them on time, on budget, rolled out, and so on. So the view into you through your resume is totally different depending on what you're targeting. You're always selling to the gap. So that's what I would do. So now, not having your resume in front of me, I wouldn't be able to tell you, hey, I would use these projects or those projects, but that's the overall philosophy that you want to adhere to. That's a great one, Larry B. See you at the meat department. Okay, let's see. What do we got here? Kara is telling me, hold on. Kara's telling me something, but I just saw something from Marlise. Marlise M. She's not just a boot camper, folks. She's a masterminder. And Marlise said the interview went really well. Can we all give Marlise McQuillan our biggest high 10 hug? I mean, I'm so happy for you. That was awesome. That was awesome. I had fun talking to you yesterday. So happy. And then Kara is telling me that perhaps re-mention the job interview workshop link is at the top of the chat. Boot campers are already included. So Kara might be reminding me because you didn't all jump all at once to jump into this awesome workshop. Remember, we're not kidding. That coupon expires. So that link that's up there at the top she's got the wrench, and then there's a briefcase, and then there's a star, and then it says get the job interview workshop for Kara, why does that say for $20 off? I'm guessing that's going to say. Just make sure you jump in. Don't call me tomorrow or December 9th before the session. Okay, let's see. There are a lot of questions. Let me see. I told Kara we were going to try to stop at noon, but I have a little buffer. Let's see. Shervin? In interviews, I tend to sound a bit robotic when I speak. What practical tips or exercises can help me come across more naturally and less stiff? Okay, so let's first talk about why you sound stiff. I'm guessing that you are not a stiff person, okay? I'm guessing that that's the case. And if you ever go to my YouTube channel and you scroll all the way to the bottom and you watch a thank you video of mine, I'm going to look stiff. And why am I looking stiff? Because what's happening up here in my very first video in 2015 or 2016 or whenever I cranked that out, I had the camera. So I had to make sure to pay attention and look through I had a Thunderbolt monitor with a little green light. I didn't even have a camera. So it was like a 720. And I had notes up on the screen. And I was making sure that I was trying to remember what I wanted to say and the teaching lesson and the points. And I was trying to remember it under duress or whatever. And so what happens is your natural state, your emotional energy, all of that stuff is being expended by trying to remember details. So the best way to be more natural is don't write out your response ever. Don't ever write it out. Sketch it out. Just make an outline. What is it that you want to say? First thing I got to remember is my coach Andy says, tell him what the problem was. Bang, just tell him. Okay, what was it? We were losing the money. We weren't doing this fast enough. People were leaving the company, whatever it was. Next thing Coach Andy wants me to tell him is, well, what were the steps that I took? You give yourself an outline. So while we didn't get into the CAR formula, the first A is your approach, which is just the steps, meaning you don't explain the steps. You say, well, the first thing that I needed to do was I needed to find myself. Second thing was I needed to put my resume together. Third thing was I needed to send it out. Fourth thing was I needed to interview. Fifth thing was I needed to negotiate. There are your 5 steps, right? I just told you what the steps were. Now let me take you through each one. So finding yourself, what that entails is generating a list of criteria, questions, this, that, the other thing, boom, boom, boom. And I'm just telling you and having a conversation with you because I know my subject matter. And it's okay if you forget something, and it's okay because they don't know. They don't know what you were going to say. And then it sounds natural. So like, for these talks, I write these cards, but these cards are for you. They're not for me, right? Because I remember the outline. Every one of my teaching programs follows a similar format. Here's what I want you to learn today. Here's why it's important, or don't you wonder why, or something. Here's the mistakes you make and the problems you have and why you're screwing it up. Here's what you need to do instead. Here's all the things I want you to look out for and avoid. And let's recap, right? So it's always the same. So, or unless I'm telling you a story or using a different format. And that's what I want you to do when you are in an interview. And I have a video on my YouTube channel. And if Kara loves you, she will give it to you right now. But there is a video on how to not sound robotic. Kara, I don't know what we titled it. But basically, what is that video? So how to sound natural, how to not sound robotic. There's a video out there because Coach Andy has a video for everything. Good luck, Shervin. Let's see. Jeff, how are you, buddy? Boot camper. Yes. Advice on how to retain my CAR future value mindset when the interview starts. I seem to suffer from the everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face syndrome. Okay. So number one, there is nothing you could say to me in an interview that I can't redirect it to where I want it to go. And when you get asked a question of any kind, I'm going to use a bridge to navigate to what I want to tell you for your own good. So when I get into an interview and I think about, let's have a dialogue, I am thinking I need to help them understand the goal of the interview is to get them to walk away knowing that I can help them achieve their goals. I don't know that you all know that, but that is the goal of the interview, because if you do that, you're going to get job offers. Okay. So your job in an interview is, repeat after me, write this down. Number 1, your job is not to answer their questions. Does that sound ridiculous? Who understands what I'm saying? Your job is not to answer their questions. Your job is to give them information so that they can draw a great and educated conclusion, or come to a great and educated conclusion about why you're the perfect fit for the job. Okay. Doesn't matter what they ask you, it's incumbent upon you to tell them what they need to know. So if you want to ask me about a raging success, I'm going to use my CAR technique to tell you a power story related to the goal you need to accomplish and how I accomplished it somewhere else. If they ask me what the biggest challenge was, I'm going to use the same story. If they're going to ask me about my leadership style, I'm going to use the same story. I'm going to use that story no matter what. And then I'm just going to explain to them how what I'm about to tell them answers their question. Well, there was this large project I ran, and there were a host of big challenges, but first let me tell you what it was about. And then I'm going to go and tell them the CAR technique. And then I'm going to move them forward if I need to. Every single time, it needs to be automatic with you. I'm going to route them where they need to go. If they ask me a cold question about like a disagreement, like comes out of nowhere, I'm going to tell them a story, and I'm going to start the story with the sequence of what makes for a good disagreement, because they're hiring me not for that disagreement. They are hiring me for my process in how I disagree. They're trying to gauge what it's going to be like to work with me. What they need to know is not the disagreement story. They need to know my philosophy on how I disagree. So there was this situation, we were disagreeing about a solution, but the most important thing to know is anytime I disagree, when I disagree with somebody, this is what happens. I listen to them first. I look for a combination solution. If I can't find the combo that's a better solution, then I share my viewpoint. So we had this issue where we were losing $50,000 a week. And then you go in. It's this, you just keep routing. You use every backdoor you need to get to tell them what they need to know. What are you selling? You are not selling your disagreement story ever. You're selling you in how you disagree. There's a huge difference. Who doesn't want to work with a person who listens, looks for a better solution that's a combination of both of the disagreeers, and then shares? Right? Like, that's the person I want. I don't care what the story is. You already got him. You won. You almost can move on to the next question. And so that's how you need to think. And so it doesn't matter what they ask you. You're going to tell them what you want to tell them based on what they need to know. They're not skilled enough to know that's what they need to know. You need to know that for them. Great one. Lucky P. That's Pierre. Hey, Andy, should you include some of the grade 8 in the boss hunting letter? You should include one major grade 8 accomplishment in the boss hunting letter. Yes. Let's see. Kioma, is it Kioma? The CAR method. Just try this video. Job interview formula guaranteed to get you hired, and it has CAAR in parentheses. And let's see. Ryan, when interviewing for an operations role, the main part of the job is solving ambiguous problems in a manufacturing context. That's not true. How would you sell the future when you don't know the problems? An operations role, what does an operations role do? If I manage manufacturing operations, the goal is to manufacture the product as fast as possible, as perfect as possible, total quality control, get it into inventory so that it can be shipped or whatever, right? It's not ambiguous problems. There's a designated goal that has financials associated with it. There's operations that are used and processes. There's technologies, everything related to the bill of materials, all the way down to inventory management and shipping it and supply logistics and all that other good stuff, or whatever's under your purview. There's nothing ambiguous about any of those problems. There are problems that come up every day in all kinds of operating environments. If you want to sell the future, you got to figure out what widget they're building and how their operations are constructed, which is something you're going to be able to ascertain very soon. But I'm an APIC certified, and I mean, I'm APIC certified, so I understand all these manufacturing and MRP2 principles. They're static across many different environments. And so it's a matter of there's a sequence and a number of issues that are created depending on the product type that you're building. That's something that I would say is definitely known, because if you have experience in operations, you would know what those problems are. I don't think there's any ambiguity anywhere in the world. I really don't. I mean that sincerely. The only reason that there's ambiguity is because somebody has not put some structure around how to solve the problem yet. If you want to be the person who says, well, I fix problems, everybody fixes problems. That's all we do. That's all the employees do every day, all day long. It's that I have built structured operating procedures, protocols, blueprints, or whatever to manufacture these kind of products or to implement these kind of solutions. And so you're bringing specificity to something that they can't see. But I find that hard to believe. Most manufacturing environments have an operating way of doing things. Now, that doesn't mean they're doing it efficiently, but I wouldn't be thinking in those terms. I would be and just so you know. And let's be really clear about this. No employer hires you, and this isn't specific to Ryan. I don't want any of you thinking that because you're a good problem solver, I'm going to hire you. That's too esoteric. I don't even know what that means. So I want to hire somebody who understands how to help me achieve my goals by overcoming my specific problems. I will tell you what those are. And so if you get them talking about what's working, what's not working in their environment, they may not even know they have problems. That's up to you to ask, well, how fast can you manufacture that? How fast can you get that done? What's the lead time between this and that? Why is it taking so long? So everything is very specific. So be thinking that way. Carlos got a job. Carlos, my boy. You know how much I love you, brother. Used the car on the first question. They said I'd actually covered all their questions in my initial example. Andy Holloway. I love Carlos. I do. We've spent some time together. He's a total badass. I love it. Buddy, I'm so happy for you. Can you send me the victory note, please? And add it to the community because people need to see this stuff. I love it. Michael Tay, what's up? Hey, Andy, I have 2 power stories prepared based on 2 of the hiring company's goals via the JD. Should I ask the recruiter which goal, A or B, is more critical? You can, but I don't know that you need to, because remember, the longer term you think, the better short-term decisions you make. When you are in an interview and here you're talking about asking the recruiter, I wouldn't even be burning a lot of time with the recruiter. You could say, I would ask the recruiter, what's most important to the hiring official? What are the goals that are most important to the hiring official? And what parts of my background do you think he or she or they will be most interested in discussing? You can ask the recruiter those kind of things. When you get to the hiring official, I would be asking them the same thing and then pick the power story that aligns most. Now, if you have 2 that are like the same, almost exact mirrors, they were just 2 separate projects that did the same thing, you can pick the one that most closely aligns to what that company will do based on the product and service it sells. If both of these are exactly the same, it's like this widget A, and it was widget A and widget A, and you had 2 different scenarios, then you give the hiring official, say, you know, there's a couple stories I could tell you. There's this or that. Which one would you like? That took, 3 seconds? So don't overthink it. You'll get both of those stories out eventually in the interview. And Kara is telling me there is no need to memorize job interview answers. That was the video that I can't remember who'd asked me that just here a few questions ago, but sounding robotic. Who was that? That for Shervin. So the video is, there is no need to memorize job interview answers. Okay, wait. A couple things, folks, because I do have a hard stop in a few minutes. Number one, I have a lot of messaging for you over the next 4 weeks. There's a lot of really great stuff going on at the Mile Walk Academy. Next week is Thanksgiving. I have a message for you on Tuesday about how much I love you and how grateful I am for you. But it's more than that. There's a big lesson in the email on Tuesday. I hope you're on my newsletter because I really want you to get it. On Thursday, I'm not going to send you a message. On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday next week, we are running a Black Friday. I call it Bright Weekend because I think Black Friday the name is terrible. We do have specials on all the job searching stuff. If you are interested in any of the job searching programs, email support@milewalk.com and just let Kara know. Say, hey, can I get the discount now? I want to get going. And that's everything. The job search coaching program, the resume writing workshop, the LinkedIn workshop, the job search challenge, the interview intervention training program, the salary negotiation workshop, everything is on special job search related. And so if we haven't been running any specials for a long time. We are not really running any specials until next year, except for the Thanksgiving weekend. So if you're interested, let her know. She'll get you the coupon. That way you don't have to wait. And then the following week, I'm back December 4th. I've got a live office hours on how to get ahead in your job search during the holidays. I'm going to talk to you about year-end adjustments I want you to make. I want to help you understand why now is a great time to be looking, irrespective of the conditions of the market. Yes, I know the job market is very hard right now. But there are a lot. I'm coaching people every day on their salary negotiation and getting their offers. So jobs are flying out there. I understand you might be struggling, but now is a good time in relation to the year, meaning in relation to the other months throughout the year, to be looking. So don't lift off the pedal while everybody's going through this quiet season and they're relaxing. I want you being consistent with reaching out to organizations. They will get back to you. And so I'm back on the 4th live. And then the following week, the 10th and the 11th, is the car workshop. So the special that we're running for the car workshop is only today. I'm not going to run it on the 4th. I'm not going to run it on the 6th or the 7th or the 8th or the 9th. That's it. It's $79 today if you're interested, or $99 starting tomorrow, all the way through the workshop. If you're in the boot camp, you're in already. We've sent you the RSVPs. It's 12:15, and I need to run. I enjoy every minute of every week, of every hour of any day I get to spend with you. Lots of luck on your search. I'm so grateful for you. I will be thinking of all of you next week. I really will, with the Thanksgiving holiday coming up. I hope you all get a chance to spend time with your families and relax for a day or two. Just a day or two, though. Maybe 3 or 4. But keep the pedal down on the search. Good things happen when you stay consistent. All right, I'll see you. Be good.